Well, you know, this arrest is the result of 2 years of investigation. As I reported and I mentioned to journalists in Kigali and to Security Council over the last 2 years, when I took over, I really made and the tracking team in the investigative strategy in relation to KABUGA, and we really went back to the last place where I was absolutely sure that he had been physically, which was in Germany in 2007. As you know, there have been over the last year so many rumors about where he was, in what country in Africa or Europe. So I decided to go back to the point in 2007 where we were sure that he had been. And so the last 2 years, when I took over, I put in place a working group I reported about between a number of European countries, including Interpol and Europol, to really try to put together all information we have in relation to Europe, using modern investigative techniques, doing a number of financial investigations and others, and you understand that I will not go into the operational details. So we collected for more than a year information, and we came to the conclusion that, well, it is very likely that he is in the UK, in France, or in Belgium. And over the last 2 months, we really came to the conclusion that it was very, very likely that he would be in France and in the region of Paris. That's when we started even to intensify cooperation with the French authorities, and where only a few weeks ago we had a clear idea where he physically would be hiding. We put, of course, then the operation in place. The French authority put the operation in place. The French authorities has been very instrumental in locating the specific apartment where he was. Cooperation with the police, with the Prosecutor General's office in Paris was really excellent. And that's why this operation was at the end of the day successful on Saturday. And of course, you know the details about the operation, you know where he was found, and we are now waiting for the different procedural aspects. Well, I really don't want to go into operational details, and it was really teamwork. And in my press release, I also mentioned the Prosecutor General's office in Kigali. As you know, we really developed an excellent cooperation over the last few years. I have been over the last years on a very regular basis on the phone with the previous Prosecutor Generals and the current Prosecutor General, who continue this excellent cooperation we are having. It has been very much a police-driven and intelligence-driven investigation over the last 2 years. We had to collect telephone data, financial data, very much coming from the UK, from France, from Belgium, and from my office. And that's where the major part of the investigation took place. And all services have really cooperated in a very efficient manner. Requests we would send were answered very, very rapidly. And it really showed that, once you have international cooperation working well, once you have, colleagues in Kigali working closely together with my office working closely together with the competent person in Interpol, with support from Europol, I want to insist. But of course, the last few months, it was very, very much, as I mentioned, UK, France, and Belgium who put together the latest information, allowing us to locate the fugitive in France.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Now, let's talk on the way forward. Now that Mr. Kabuga has been arrested, what are the possible scenarios around the trial of Mr. Kabuga? Is he going to be taken to Arusha, or back to Rwanda, or The Hague? Tell us what is coming up after this stage.
Yes. Well, I think we all need to take one moment to really express all our satisfaction about the fact that he has been arrested. many of my interlocutors also in Kigali thought that this day will never happen. So today he has been arrested. I think this is a relief for many of the survivors who have waited for this day for 26 years. So I think we can be all satisfied in the interest of the victims and in the memory of those who lost one, that finally Felicien KABUGA was arrested. Now we start the next phase, which is of course to make sure that he's standing trial. He is currently in Paris. He will very soon be presented before judges in France, in Paris, and a number of formalities following French law need to be followed. But of course, the request for transfer to the mechanism is already with the French authorities. So based on the international arrest warrant, it is crystal clear that his transfer has to take place to the mechanism. We of course have to look and to follow the situation in the coming weeks, where it is obvious that with the travel restrictions, COVID-19, health risk out there, we have to decide if he is moved to Arusha or if he's moved to The Hague. But it is obvious that a trial, once it's taking place under the current circumstances, should be in Arusha. Well, you know, we all know that it has been taking many years. And having worked before with the Yugoslav tribunal, you know, in relation to Karadzic and Mladic, a lot of people had given up hope that one day they would be arrested. And there also, in 2008 and 2011, thanks to, you know, changed investigative strategy, thanks to more international cooperation, we were successful. And, you know, we have used similar investigative strategies in relation to KABUGA. The point I wanted to make is that you should never give up actively looking for fugitives. And there are people out there we are still looking for, other tribunals are looking for, who can hide for a number of years, who will have perhaps political support for a number of years, but they cannot hide forever. So it's very much a message we wanted to give, to say, look, international justice and justice in general can be slow sometimes, but at the end of the day, if we believe in it, justice can prevail. You know, the reason I made this comment was to say that if you look at the world today, there are so many conflicts ongoing everywhere, and there are so many massive crimes, war crimes, crimes against humanity committed everywhere. And the prospect for justice for many of those crimes is very limited. We see today more impunity than justice for international crimes. This is the very sad reality. And the point I wanted to make is that, look, if we want justice to be successful, it's not enough to have prosecutors and investigators. You need the international community, you need governments to be supportive and to help us. And what we have seen over the last, and I can only speak about the last 3 years, when I was dealing with this case, that we got all the political support logically from the government in Kigali, and I have excellent interaction with your Minister of Justice, who has been an excellent interlocutor since I've been in office, and the Prosecutor Generals have been excessively supportive. But I have to say that the requests we sent to London, to Paris, to Brussels, were immediately executed by professionals, and I have no doubts that their respective governments were very supportive as well. Well, the message to fugitives is, well, there is no safe haven for you. There are people out there looking for you very actively using modern technology, and it can take time, but at the end of the day, we are successful, and we can be successful. So, you know, it can take months, it can take years, or it has taken even much longer. I know it's not easy for people to hide, and in this concrete case, he had more than a dozen of different identities he has used in hiding over those many years. But again, if there is strong cooperation, if there are investigators who are looking for them, well, we can prevail. And our message to the remaining fugitives, if ever they are listening and looking at this message, is, well, we are coming for you. We are still investigating. And we have also interesting leads in relation to the other fugitives we are looking for. You had seen that in relation to one of the fugitives, we had located him in South Africa. Cooperation had not really worked the way we wanted to see it working, but we have not given up. We continue working on that case and are not too pessimistic about it. And we are still working on Imperania and Bizimana cases, and there are also a number of leads we are working on. So work goes on, and we will continue hunting those fugitives.